Jorge Camil y Steve Wozniak. Bienvenidos.
So thank you, Steve, for coming to Mexico. How's everyone doing tonight? I guess we all have to do a couple of thank you for giving this world Apple. We are very, very blessed. And thank you for being in Mexico City. Thank you for being in TAG. It's a real honor to be with you on stage.
I'm more excited to live in today's technology. I mean, I'm glad we got here, but less looking back at the past.
Exactly. So when did we have a couple of questions? When did it go from this is fun, Apple is fun, we're in a garage, we're trying out new things, to we're gonna have a dig in the universe?
Well, it might vary by person. For me, it was always fun. Everything I ever did in technology, all the projects that I created, that I dreamed up, that I drew on paper, I built parts, every step of it was fun. After we started Apple, it continued to be fun. To this day, technology is the fun part of my life, seeing what people are doing. However, there was a point in time, and to me, I never did it thinking, oh my gosh, you've got to have a hugely successful company, you've got to make money. I didn't judge myself in those terms. But after about a year and a half of Apple with a really hot product taking things over, all of a sudden our little restricted stock that we had, Steve Jobs came to me and he said, you realize we have more money than our parents ever made in their life. And that was still in early days. So, and that was, I remember that conversation was a bit of a shock. I'd never thought about it, yeah.
And the team that was building this fantastic company, were they trying to invent the next HP? Can you tell us a little bit about the team that was creating?
Well, the company started with a hot product, the Apple II computer, and that computer was going to bring in all the revenues of the company for 10 years. All of the profits we made came from that one product. We hired professionals in areas of marketing, of administration, of accounting, legal aid, operations, building things. And that was really what made us successful. We weren't just a few kids, just getting a bunch of kids together, put things together. We were a real company. And yes, inside the company, Steve Jobs, more than anyone else, had ideas of creating a future and finding the next device that would really make it and turn the world over. But he was so anxious. He wasn't really skilled in execution, in operations, in actually figuring out what you can make and sell that has a value for what it sells for. So we had 3 failures in products over those 10 years. 3 new computers, the Apple III, the Lisa, and the Macintosh failed. And it was only after Steve was gone that we worked hard for 3 years to build a Macintosh market at all. So really we had a lot of errors in our early days of not finding the formulas that created a great product that everyone in the world wants at the price it's selling for. That came later in time.
Mexico's at an interesting point because we have a big entrepreneurship community. The government's helping startups a lot. And that would be interesting to get your feedback on failures. If we're starting a company, we've got all these ideas, we've got a great team, what would you recommend up-and-coming startups when they fail?
Yeah, almost anybody that's had a successful entrepreneurship will say, one thing that everyone agrees on is it's a lot of hard work. You wind up working day and night, whether it's for love or because it's so critical and important to your dreams of success. But you know what? And everyone says, you got to go through failures. You got to overcome failures. Well, that's just a normal thing to say. The way I look at it is, you can look at life as a learning curve. Technology is like mathematics. You learn one thing, you create one type of product, and that gives you the know-how in your brain. And if you're lucky, with profits, a little extra money to take the next step and the next step. It's a building process. And so the steps that took you to where you get finally aren't necessarily failures. They're only failures if they attempt and they totally go away and don't really make anything. Failures on the way to starting a company, you're young entrepreneurs. No, you don't really care that much. For you, it's usually a love and a passion inside of you. You write a little program, maybe it doesn't affect the world, maybe it doesn't make $10, but it's a learning step in your head that you feel proud about, and that takes you to the next step. Motivation is more important than knowledge.
I agree. And with this role of technology, the advantage that we have to have so much access, today you can have a Salesforce for a couple of bucks a month and you have a full ERP system. But at the same time, it feels like technology, better yet, do you think we control technology or does technology control us?
Well, when I think of technology and humans, Apple has had a big role in this whole area. And we were largely influenced by an intellectual guy, university professor of classical music, Jeff Raskin, who came and taught Steve and I, you can either make people struggle to learn how to use the technology, and then a few technology experts know how to use computers, or you can work hard as a company making a product. You make it work and work and work in the way that people are already familiar with working. And that makes the human being the master and not the technology. So at Apple, we've had a strong influence to make our products easier to use, to make them more understandable. With the Macintosh, it was to make it intuitive. You would just look at a screen and sort of know what you were supposed to do. That's because it was really based on how humans already do things. One step towards, for example, the big step we took was coming up with a computer with a GUI and a mouse-based pointing system. Well, the mouse-based pointing system, and we have to give tribute to Doug Engelmark, who's just died, but the mouse-based system, your eye will see a TV screen in 2 dimensions. Whereas we used to have a keyboard, and if you look at a spot on the screen, maybe in a text document, and you'd hit arrow, 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 down, 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 right, right, right. You would hit arrow keys to get there. Those arrow keys were one-dimensional, just reaching up and pointing to it. With a mouse at first, now with our hands is even more human. That was just a step towards humanity and making things, you want to get the technology difficulties out of sight and out of the way of the users. I want to get something done. I shouldn't have to memorize steps that will get it done for me.
We hear a lot about startups or companies breaking this traditional business model of the big 300-page business plan and having prototypes, this lean startup mentality. And I think one of the best examples in the world is Apple, because you see clients, users really obsess over the products. How does the user need process go in Apple? How do you do focus groups? Do you just because I know it's also very secretive and everything is kind of separated. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, in my case, going way back in time, I was just building devices for a market of one person, myself. It was just something I wanted that would help me at work and help me enjoy with games and things, and how can you build the most fanciful product and make computer a word acceptable to home. So that was an easy one. Now, as we evolved the company, we developed all sorts of management procedures. Steve Jobs felt that they got in his way a lot. He would have ideas, but when they went through the structure, things got turned, they got considered, it didn't let him flow at the rate he wanted to. He may not have been capable in the early days, but when he returned to Apple, he certainly proved that he was. Because he had the vision, the long-term vision, but the step is, how do you get there? And he always felt, very much like myself, that you have a good intuition and a feeling for what is good and what is not. It's almost like a feeling you have about fashion, or you see something new, you sort of have an idea in your head, wow, that is cool because it looks usable, but it also looks different. Or you have a feeling, it just looks awful, it's another piece of the same stuff, it doesn't look special. So it's that feeling of specialness is intuitive. It's a feeling. You can't write a spreadsheet that calculates out what is the next product that people are going to want and expect to have a big, huge hits like Apple has.
It's kind of this, people don't know what they want until you show it to them.
Right.
And then that gives you this fantastic amount of clients, which I find very fascinating.
Well, there's 2 ideas. There's 2 words that are popular: innovation and invention. And the way I think about it sometimes is that invention goes beyond innovation. Innovation is looking at a product today and innovating to make it a little better, a little simpler, a little less costly. Invention is inventing a totally different process to solve the same problems for the users. And that invention idea is when you strike the world with something, wait a minute, I had never thought about this route before, but it works. The trouble is the invention's got to be simpler, easier, or less costly and still solve the same problems. And if you're an inventor and you come up with a totally different approach to solving a certain kind of problem that other people are working on, you might create an entire new industry, you might create an entire new market or part of an industry, and since you're the first one to do it, because everyone else was trying to do things the normal existing way, then you can wind up with a huge, huge success and really alter the world forever.